Hello everyone, this is Ashley Tucker. Thank you for joining me today. I started today's card by taping a piece of Canson watercolor paper to a board. I'm going to be doing some Distress Oxide ink blending on this panel, and before I started I used a large circle die and a pencil to mark out the area where I want the blending to be. For the blending I used the colors Tumbled Glass, Salty Ocean, Blueprint Sketch, and Black Soot. I've been really liking these colors lately for my nighttime sky scenes. Once I finished all of the blending, I took a paintbrush with some white paint on it and I tapped it over the top so that I could get some stars. But after I finished adding those, I realized that I didn't really want that look for this particular card. So what I did to change it is I went back over the top of it with all of the same Distress Oxide inks, and that really hit it well. And it actually almost makes it look like there's some stars off in the distance. I set that aside, and then I took out this stamp set by Colorado Craft Company. This is called Bethlehem's Light. I used my MISTI tool to stamp the little baby Jesus image onto some Bristol Smooth paper with my Gina AMALGAM ink. The reason that I used Bristol Smooth paper is because I'm coloring in this image with my Arteza real brush pens. For the skin, I used the colors Pale Skin and Light Skin. I used my Tim Holtz Fine Detailer water brush to do all of the blending. As you can see, I have a clear block off to the right hand side, and I sprayed some water onto that, and I'm picking up that water with my brush. You don't need a lot of water when you're blending your Arteza markers. I always like to start with a very light amount and then add more if I need to. For the cloth coming out of the manger, I used the colors Ice Blue and Smoke Gray. And then for the manger itself, I used the colors Ginger, Chocolate, and Walnut Brown. For the coloring on this particular image, I started with a layer of my lightest color, leaving some white areas for highlights, and then I blended that out. When you do the blending, you blend into those white areas, and that's what creates your highlight. It's not completely white anymore, but it's a nice light shade of your light color. After giving the first layer a little bit of time to dry, I came in with my next darkest color, and I added that, leaving a little bit more space for highlight. You don't want to completely go over your first color with the second color. I blended out the second color and gave it a little bit of time to dry, and then I came in with my third color, which is the darkest one. And with this one, I just added a very small amount. You don't need much at all, and then I blended that out. And for the actual manger part of this scene, I did leave some lines from my brush strokes, and that's just to give it some texture to make it look more like wood. For the straw, I used the colors Honey, Ginger, and Tawny. And I made sure to add a lot of my dark color underneath the manger because there's going to be a shadow there. For the sheep, I used the colors Ash Black and Elephant Gray, and I tried to keep that color right along their backs because I'm trying to have them more silhouetted as if the light is coming from in front of them. You'll have to forgive me if my voice sounds a little bit rough today. I did just come down with a cold, so I might sound a little bit off. Anyways, once all of the coloring was done, I fussy cut that image out with some scissors. Using a large circle die, I cut a window out of a 6x6 piece of Bristol Smooth paper, and then I used my ATG gun to adhere the colored in image to the bottom of that window. I went over my Distress Oxide ink background with my powder tool, and then I used the window that I created as a guide in order to stamp a star onto the background with some embossing ink. And I embossed that star with Alabaster white embossing powder. I added a bunch of foam tape to the window panel, and I adhered it onto the blended sky panel. I used my ATG gun to add some adhesive onto the back of that panel, and then I took that whole thing and I adhered it onto a 6x6 card base. I used a white gel pen to add some stars into that sky background. The reason that I decided to do this instead of the paint is because I really wanted to be more in control of where the stars went. When I started this card, I had an image in my head and I wanted the stars to be more condensed at the top of the page and then slowly fade out towards the bottom. For the sentiment, I took the stamp which says, "Oh come, let us adore him," and I stamped it with embossing ink onto Bazzill Licorice Twist cardstock, which I had prepped with my powder tool. I embossed that with Alabaster white embossing powder, and then I glued it onto my card using both foam tape and my ATG gun. For the final touches on this card, I went over the sentiment with my Wink of Stella glitter brush, and then I also added some sparkle around the star. And here's a closer look at the finished card. Thank you for watching today. I hope you really enjoyed this card design using that beautiful stamp set from Colorado Craft Company. All of the supplies that I used for this card can be found in the description down below. If you enjoyed watching and you're not a subscriber yet, I would encourage you to hit that subscribe button so that you can see all of my future videos. I'm going to be back with a new video on Monday. Again, thank you for watching. I appreciate all of you, and I hope you have a good weekend.